Good morning. It's time for our daily devotion. Yesterday was the third Sunday of Advent, and we lit the candle of joy. Now, there's a great deal of misunderstanding about what joy is, and so I just wanted to share three quick thoughts with you today about what joy is and what joy isn't. Joy, first of all, is not because of. Joy is something we can have in spite of, not because of, but in spite of. And we misunderstand that sometimes. Sometimes we think we're supposed to be joyful. If we have a good job, we have a nice house, we have the car we'd like to have, we're wearing fashionable clothes. But that's not real joy. Joy is something that we can have in spite of the fact that we're unemployed, in spite of the fact that we're homeless, in spite of the fact that we're walking instead of driving a nice car, in spite of the fact that we're wearing clothes from the local thrift store rather than off the rack of a very expensive department store. Joy is something that doesn't happen because of things. Joy is something that God gives us the ability to have in spite of things. Secondly, joy is not for a while. Joy is until. It's not for the here and now. It's until. So what I mean by that is sometimes we're joyful in an immediate response to a good stimuli. In other words, something good happens and we are happy. And we're happy as long as that lasts. We're happy while we're eating the meal. When the meal's gone, then the joy's gone. We're happy when we're in a relationship, but if the relationship is over, then we're not joyful anymore. Joy isn't temporary. Joy isn't something that happens just for the moment. Joy is something that is forever. It's something that's eternal. It's something that surpasses time. And joy is until we come to the next road to take, or the next decision to make, or the next experience to have. And so joy supersedes, it transcends time. It transcends circumstances. It's not because, it's in spite of, it's not for a while, but it's until. And then lastly, joy is not always external. It is always internal. It's not always external, but it's always internal. There are people who have great joy in spite of circumstances, even in bad times. And they are joyful people, but it doesn't always show itself in an external way that you might think of. They're not always laughing. They're not always kidding around. They're not always joking. And they may not even always have a smile on their face. There have been times when I have been shedding tears on the outside because of grief or sadness, but on the inside I was joyful. I remember that experience so well when both of my parents died. Externally, I was grief-stricken. I was broken. I was shedding tears. When both of my parents died, on the outside, if you'd have looked at me, you'd have thought, he doesn't have any joy. But the truth was that on the inside, I had great joy because I knew where my parents were. I knew what their spiritual condition was. I knew that they were with Jesus. I knew that they were no longer suffering. And inside, I was joyful. Outside, I was sad. And so joy is something that's not always manifested, not always seen on the outside externally, but it's always something that is happening on the inside. So joy. Christmas is all about joy. Joy is not because of, it's in spite of. It's not for a while, but it's until. And it is not always external, but it's always internal. I hope today that you have great joy. And if you don't, I pray that you'll ask God to, through the fruit of the Holy Spirit, give you joy. It's one of the fruit, and it is certainly one of the things that we ought to be experiencing as Christians, celebrating this joyous season of Christmas. Now, go make it a joyful and great day, and I'll see you next time.